I believe this is our second largest group today. The first was our launch with 47. So it's exciting. Let's keep it growing, keep inviting people, and we'll bust out the walls, right, Kevin?
Yes.
All right. With that, we're going to bring up the next exciting presenter, and he is Shane Fortner with Fortner Gas Company, who's been in our community since, well, the company has been in existence since 1951. I'm not going to step on Shane's toes. Come on up, Shane Fortner.
Thank you for having me this morning. I'm honored when Marion asked me to come and speak to you a little bit about Fortner Gas Company and what I do there and how we operate and have grown over the years. A little bit of background about our company. It was founded in 1951 by my grandfather in Princeton. He bought a small propane company that had 300 customers, called his brother in who had some education, more education than my grandfather. They made a deal to each take half the company, and from 1951 until 1980 they worked together side by side, running the business together. And in 1980 my dad and his sister purchased my uncle's half of the business, and then they worked with my grandfather until 1989 when he passed away. And so now it's my dad and his sister and me and my first cousin. So we've always been, as I call it, a bicameral house at Fortner Gas Company. We've always had two family sides, and we've made it for 60 some odd years. So a lot of times people say, oh, I don't know how you work in family business, and I'm like, well, we've been doing it for quite a while, and it's worked out well for us. It's not always easy, I'll add that. My grandfather, when he started the business, he used the primary source of his employees when he started in 1951 were in fact family. He hired about 5 family members of his to come and work for him. Most of them were nephews. And he hired one secretary who came to work for him in 1951. Her name was Miss Billy, and Miss Billy worked for us until about 1987. So we have had some long-term employees who've been instrumental in the success of our business. My role at Fortner Gas Company started when I was born. I was going to work with my dad and my grandfather. There are people in Princeton who will say to me, I remember when your grandfather came to my house to work on my heater and you were a toddler and he brought you in with him to do that. So I was always, everybody in Princeton has always known me, just simply because I was always with my grandfather or my dad doing something for the gas company. I did leave for about 10 years when I went to college. I graduated from Western and stayed away for a while, which was probably the best thing that I ever did for myself because it allowed me to work for other companies. I worked for 2 large companies while I was gone. I worked for a company called Camping World in Bowling Green, Kentucky, which is the largest aftermarket RV product dealer in the nation, which is headquartered in Bowling Green. And then I also worked for a company based in Houston called SCI, which SCI, this is a little more morbid, but SCI is the largest operator of funeral homes in the United States. So I worked for them for about 6 years in Southwest Florida. And then some things happened, and I was tired of living away and wanted to come back home. And I really didn't think I would come back to the gas business, but as some people have told me, it was simply my fate and my destiny. So I found myself back at Fortner Gas Company in January of right around, I think it was 2000, 2001. I came back, and when I came back, we began looking at opportunities for an expansion. We had one store. We had 2 stores at that point, the one in Princeton and then we have one in Cadiz. So we had always had a lot of customers in Madisonville and Hopkins County. We had a good customer base here. So we decided to come to Madisonville and start looking for some property. So we purchased property here in Madisonville, and it was a decision of my family that this is where I would come to work, which was fine with me because the rest of them work in Princeton together. So I kind of had my own little environment over here, and that's fine with me. So we purchased the property. You know where we are on, or hopefully most of you know where we are on Nebo Road. We're right across the street from GE. We came to look at property. Bill Rudd, we met with Bill Rudd, and we looked and couldn't find the property. And Bill Rudd said, well, there's this property that's been for sale for about 6 or 7 years. He said, I'm not sure what they'll do. So we went and looked at it. It was ideal for what we wanted to do. And it had rail service because we use the rail service quite a bit. So we ended up purchasing the old Carter lumber building and renovating it and turning it into what we have today as our location here in Madisonville. One of the things that we were that my family was kind of dabbling in when I came back were fireplaces and fireplace equipment. And with this location, we were able to build a showroom and have a full fireplace and gas log showroom that we had not really had anywhere else before. Madisonville being a little bit bigger market than what we would normally in with Princeton and Cadiz allowed us a bigger customer base to do that. And that just really took off and actually has created a niche market for us here in Madisonville with gas logs and fireplaces because we have developed that into a pretty good business. Some challenges we have in our business is it's a seasonal business. So, you know, in the wintertime we never have enough help, but in the summertime there's always people standing around with nothing to do. And so that's a challenge that we've learned to work through over the years. One of the things I think that's been most successful with our business that has helped us be successful is a strong foundation. A lot of the things that my grandfather started this company on, we still recognize today. You know, those are excellent customer service, dependable service. We're one of the few propane companies around that still actually do what we call service work. Most propane companies now are what we would call a delivery service, kind of like UPS. They deliver a product, they deliver a commodity, and that's all they do. We're different in that we still sell appliances, service, those sort of things. One of the things I put here that I think has been very helpful for me is being involved in professional and civic organizations. I'm very involved in propane organizations, but I'm also been very involved here in Madisonville in the Rotary Club for one, and then the Home Builders Association here in Madisonville. So any association that you can make with other professionals in whatever field you're in, whether it's professional or civic, I highly encourage that. So I think
questions.
we're ready for questions. All right.
I promise you I'd ask some questions. And I always have them anyway. The question I have for you is, who made the decision to expand not only into the fireplaces, but you also have a line of lawnmowers there now, and you have outside grills as well. And then I noticed, at first I never thought about it, but the kitchen appliances and stuff, that was an amazing expansion, I thought, adding that piece on there. Tell us how that happened.
Well, like I said, with the fireplaces, before we actually opened this store in Princeton, in Madisonville, we were getting several calls in Princeton for fireplace equipment. There was a hardware store down in Eddyville called Ackridge. I don't know if any of you are familiar with the Ackridges, but anyway, the Ackridges had developed a fireplace department in their hardware store. And so, of course, people were going there and getting fireplaces, and they were coming to us to see about getting propane for their fireplace. And so we started having this thought, well, why are they going there and getting that? You know, we could do the whole thing, not anything against Ackridge, but, you know, it would be nice if we could just do the whole package. So we were getting enough of those, and that was about the time when we were developing this. So anyway, one way that I made the fireplace thing work better was after I got into it a little bit, I actually recruited the lady who had started their fireplace department to come to work for us. So that was a big boost. And she actually came to Madisonville to work for me when I started this store over here. I hired her and she came. So she was a big help in getting that going.
With all the it seems like everybody has an outdoor fireplace now or a fire pit or something like that. Have you seen that has grown a lot, and how have you all capitalized on that?
Outdoor products have grown some. Outdoor products around here. The one thing I'll say about most outdoor products is price point. The price point of most outdoor products is relatively high. I've not found a line of outdoor products that is what I would say. Most of the products I sell in the fireplace line is what I would call low to medium, and that's where our price points are. I try to pick things, buy things that are in a lower to medium price point. When you get up into these higher price points in our markets, they just don't, it's just not around here. And so, I mean, there's a few. I mean, you know, and for those folks who want that kind of thing, to be honest with you, I tend to let them go, or I recommend they go to somewhere, to one of my competitors, maybe in Evansville or somewhere, because usually the people who, the companies who sell those, they have big requirements. For like, I'd have to have so many dollars worth on my showroom and so many pieces in the inventory. And so, but with outdoor products, the price, they don't have any that are down in this medium to lower price point just yet. And so it makes it a little more difficult to sell those around here. Now there's bukus of it out there, but when you see it,
Are you talking mostly like the gas ones though?
Yeah, the gas.
Because I mean, everybody has a fire pit now, so,
Yeah.
you know, there was a day when hardly anyone
Right.
had that going on. Now it seems like every single person does. And it'd be nice to have a gas one so you didn't have to always have firewood, but,
Right.
you know, there's.
Yeah, we had one vendor a couple of years ago who had a nice, lower priced fire pit that was gas. But, I don't know, it kind of went to the wayside, and then I actually have one on my showroom now, but, you know, there again, the one I have there now, I think the retail price of it's like $1,200, so.
Shane, since your company's been around since 1951, that's a long, long time, and most companies tend to grow and mature, and eventually they'll just kind of mature. And especially after as many years as you've been in business, how do you keep coming up with new ideas? I mean, where do you go to find your new ideas in order to grow your business? And like when you chose to move here, I think you also have a place in Clarksville now, is that right? Hopkinsville. But how do you choose where you're going to go next?
Well, one of the things that I said in my opening statement was that one of the things we try to stick to is our bedrock principles that my grandfather started with this business. And like I say, one of those bedrock principles that we've always held strong to is service. And what's happened over the years is the propane industry is a very consolidated industry. So, and it's also a very competitive industry. A lot of people look at Fortner Gas and they're like, oh, well, they don't have much competition. Well, you know, other gas companies drive trucks in here from Shawneetown, Illinois, from Marion, from Livermore, from Owensboro. You know, just because there's not a physical presence in the area, that doesn't mean we don't have competition, because trucks, they can go anywhere and everywhere. But the one thing we've always tried to do is stay our core principle of service, because you know, generally, like for instance with deliveries, I mean, when a customer calls us for propane, one of the things that we try to do is have the delivery made within no more than 2 days. Well, I mean, for most other companies, that's pretty much unheard of. You know, you're talking about at least 5 days, maybe a week, maybe 10 days. So by doing that and maintaining those levels of service, we really haven't had to reinvent or find new ways to do things. It's just a matter of when other companies are consolidated and they're bought out and these big companies, larger companies come in, they don't have this focus on service as much. You know, they're not family-centered like we are. I mean, we pretty much have one of the four of us pretty much has our finger on what's going on everywhere. And so it's more of a matter of service and maintaining a higher level of service than our competition, which allows us to go into a new market. And you know, just like with Clarksville, you mentioned Clarksville. So in Clarksville, there used to be 2 family-owned propane companies, both of which have now been bought by major corporations. So the service level has dropped. So we get calls every day now from Clarksville, Tennessee, of people who are wanting our service, because word has gotten out that, hey, these people do what they say, they offer good service, they come and do so. And most all of our new business comes from word of mouth. We do, no offense to any advertising people in here, but we've not ever been huge on the advertising budget.
So do you see putting, once you said you found here that there were a lot of people here needing your service, would you consider opening a physical presence in Clarksville if that?
Yes,
is
we've been looking at that for a couple of years now. If we if we have another location open anytime within the next 3 years, that's where it will be.
Shane, the company's been around just a wee bit longer than I have, so I guess that has been a while. We often think of entrepreneurial businesses as being new startups. It's not always the case. A company that's been around a long time can be very responsive to the market, and especially a small company can shift and be nimble. Would you characterize Fortner Gas as one that can react and respond pretty quickly? And the second part of that question is, what have you felt are right now the biggest challenges going forward?
Yes, I think that we can react probably as quick as any company out there. I mean, once a month, me and my dad and his sister and my cousin, we get together once a month at our office in Princeton and we have a meeting. Sometimes we bring our other managers in, sometimes we don't. But that is one of the best things I can say about our family business is the fact that, and as a new entrepreneur or an old entrepreneur, is you do have that ability to react and react instantly to change. So if we see something on the horizon, like fireplaces, if we see that we need to start selling fireplaces, I could have, our meeting together this month. By the week after the meeting, I could have had fireplaces here set up and ready to sell. So, yeah, I mean, that is one of the biggest advantages a family-owned, smaller, or individual business has, is being able to react to a market and maneuver through the market, because you're not having to call corporate headquarters in King and Prussia, Pennsylvania, which is where the largest propane company in the United States is headquartered, or you're not having to call Chicago or anywhere else. I mean, you can make that decision, get advisement that you may need from somebody, and then go for it.
The biggest challenge going forward?
The biggest challenge going forward, probably after last winter, I told you propane supply and price, but I think we've got that worked out as an industry better for this year, and hopefully we're not going to experience that again this year. Indications are hopefully not. One of the biggest challenges, I guess, going forward for us would probably be, and I don't know that it's really a challenge, but we've always kind of had a succession, I mean, my cousin and me and this, but, we're kind of getting toward the end of the generations that are available to come to do this business. So probably one of the challenges for us will be deciding really and truly what the future is going to be. And with our long-standing legacy of what we want to do with our company and how we want to operate it, that we don't want to become one of these other, and that's going to happen anytime soon. But it is something on the horizon that we do have to begin thinking about.
Shane, question would be, who's your biggest competition? And with that question, I'm thinking, all right, you've got the big box stores, the Walmarts and the Lowe's and all this, and then the internet. In your case, because we've been there, where you've got to convince your customer why to purchase from you versus another source that very likely would be cheaper, because you probably don't have the same source and pricing point in your purchases that they do. How do you handle that, or do you have that problem?
We do. I mean, in this industry, there is one in particular company, obviously won't name any names, but there's one in particular company that is what we call a cut rate company. So in other words, their business model is strictly built on having the lowest price. So my dad has this saying, it's relatively true. Some people shop at Walmart and some people shop at Target. So we're more in the Target business model than the Walmart business model. We're not going to be the cheapest. We're not going to try to compete with the cheapest folks. So we're gonna go over here and we're gonna promote our service. We're gonna promote, you know, the fact that when you call us, you're gonna get your, whatever you're getting within a matter of days. You know, you're not gonna have to wait. Last winter, and, you know, it was bad across the board. But it was especially bad for cut rate companies because they could not maintain the levels of service they needed to even keep. So when you saw these headlines about, you know, chicken farmers, poultry houses didn't have propane, or nursing homes were running out of propane, or these and that pretty much revolved around one company in the industry, which is actually headquartered here in Kentucky, in Paducah. And they were not in any way prepared because the only focus they have ever had is being the cheapest. How do we be the cheapest? You know, how do we maintain, how do we keep our expenses so low and our service so low that we can be the cheapest? Because I mean, propane is a commodity. Yeah, sure, you can buy it. You can have it delivered from anywhere, like I said. But then when times got tough, people realized that, you know, they, for lack of no pun intended, they were kind of left out in the cold because their supplier couldn't meet the demand that they had there, and you know, it was tough.
I just wanted to comment on something you just said. Because when a company starts trying to always beat whatever competition that they have, what they soon lose is the focus on what they have. And when people are, I mean, you can always worry about who's going to be cheaper, who's going to provide more, or whatever, but when you focus on your business and what you do best, that's when you end up being a lot more successful, I think. And not to say that you don't have to worry about competition, because there is competition out there, but usually it just makes you stronger in what you do because you're focused on what you do.
Well, one of the things I was going to say too about competition, you know, there's two kinds of competition. There's healthy competition and there's unhealthy competition. So I have colleagues that are in this industry who are still, you know, there's one in Owensboro that's still a locally owned propane company. And me and the guy who run that, we talk on the phone probably once every 2 or 3 months. You know, we share ideas, we talk, you know, and we compete directly. I mean, down in western Kentucky, in you know, Crittenden and Livingston and McCracken County, he has trucks there, he has a physical presence there, and so do I. But you know what? Just like 3 weeks ago, we were talking on the phone. His name is Mitch. I said, Mitch, what's going on? I'm not Mitch, blah, blah. We got to talking about. He said, you know what? He said, I increased my cash flow about 30% with tickets at customers' houses. I said, well, how'd you do that? He said, I started leaving them envelopes to mail their tickets back in. We'd never left envelopes, door hanger envelopes. What did I do? I went and ordered 10,000 door hanger envelopes. And guess what we're doing? We're leaving door hanger envelopes, and guess what? The cash flow is picked up. So, you know, one of the things I did want to say was being friendly with your competition is not a bad thing.
Yep.
I mean, because more than likely, you have your niche of the reason people are coming to talk to you. You know, for whatever reason, people go to Mitch's company to buy their propane. That's okay. And we're probably going to get some of each other's customers at some point in time. That's probably going to happen. But the thing we learn from each other is more valuable than probably the customers will swap back and forth.
Shane, to piggyback on that, our core business is senior housing. We've been very, very, very involved in the leadership of our state trade association over the years. You mentioned that in your opening comments, that that's been so important. I'm going to guess that some of these relationships that you've built with what you call the positive or healthy competitors were probably built through your involvement in the trade association. And I just want to echo what you've just said. We can learn from each other, and most of what we do in most businesses ain't proprietary. You know, so share good ideas when you can. It serves us all well.
Did you have a question?
Yeah, I was just going to ask you about how do you get away from it? I mean, you've been in the, like, when you want to take a break, surely there's times that you want to get away from thinking about gas and your family. So, I mean, you can't go on a family vacation.
You know, it's funny, one of the things,
Well put it.
one of the things that, you know, one of the successes that I think has been a success of our business is that we, as a family, we do function well together, you know. But when I want to go, I have getaways, you know.
You're not gonna tell, are you?
With technology, with my cell phone over there, you know, you're never very far away. But there are times, you know, when we can get away, and you know, pretty much. Of course, our business in the summertime is really slow.
Yeah.
So, you know, from say May through July, you know, I can go and be gone for a while and get away from it. But yeah, that's important. I mean, and that's one of the nice things about having the family structure that we have is because, you know, some of us can be gone and there's still, you know, it's not like we're the only one there. But you're right, that is important. Yes.
I think one of the cool things about the program we're doing now, one of the reasons I became involved is because of the same thing that you talked about, sharing that knowledge with people that are competitors or on a friendly competitive basis, helps you grow your business, helps you become stronger if you can listen to advice, be it a different platform than what you're doing, you know, you're doing something different than anybody else in the room. So some of the ideas you've got that are great, and I'm going to take to the table, are things that are going to help me grow my business, and I've been able to do that every week. So I think that as entrepreneurs and as business owners, you know, we all face a lot of the same struggles. I'm going on vacation next week, so I'm working like 8:30 every night, and then I'm in my bed working too on my little iPad and stuff until like 1 o'clock in the morning, because I'm going to go on vacation, and I made that commitment to not use any of my electronic devices for the first 5 days. So the stress of that is overwhelming.
Let us know how that works for you.
It was stressful, you know, so I really appreciate you coming and sharing what you've done, because you're showing us a model that's an entrepreneur that keeps growing and keeps reflecting what the changes in the market are. And you are to be commended for that and your families as well, so great job.
Well, thank you. We, like I said, we've built on what my grandfather started all those years ago, and so, you know, we hope to continue to do that. And yes, Ryan.
You made the comment about your hanging envelopes, you know, return address. A couple of years ago, I was having problems with cash flow, and someone suggested that. And every time I send out an invoice, an envelope with my return address, and not only is it just a regular envelope, it's a bright blue or a bright yellow. So when they say, oh, I lost the invoice or I lost your address, it's that bright yellow envelope. Oh, yeah, I see it right here on my desk. You know, and they stick a check and they mail it. So, and it's something that really works for small businesses.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity to come. If you have questions?
Shane from Fortner Gas and Pat and Rob. Everybody go sign up for the podcast. Let us know when you're going to have the event with the barn. I'm sure I will be one of the first people getting an invitation. Okay. Thank you all for coming. Next week we have Heather Bryant from Enthralled Imaging, and we have one spot open. Is that right? One spot open for next week. So if you're an entrepreneur, own your own business, you would like to present about your business, please contact Mary and myself, Mark, Carol,
Aaron.
Aaron. Just contact one of us and we'll get you signed up, and we look forward to seeing you next week.
We do have some great programs coming up. We are fully booked for the 5th and for the 12th, so we have some great programs those 2 weeks. So I think it'll be pretty interesting. So come on back and make sure you bring a friend.
Bring a friend.
There you go.
Thank you.